Let's join our hearts together in prayer. Holy God, may the words from my mouth and the meditations in all our hearts be acceptable in your sight. Amen. This warm weather's changed it a little bit, but does anyone have a really rutty street that you live on? You do? Yeah, or a really rutty back lane, maybe? That you get, what's that? They plowed yours, your back lane. Oh, great. There you go. Lucky you. Must be nice. But we know those ruts, right? When you're out, it's sort of a Manitoba winter thing. You get caught in those ruts. If I used to have a really small car, and you're kind of always feel like you're a little bit on an angle because you can't quite fit into them. But it gets to the point, it's not so bad this year, but sometimes it gets to the point where you're like, well, I can't really even get out of them until the end of the street, right? Until you get to an intersection of some point. So you just hope no one else is, I don't know if you live on a street that has lots of parked cars and there's really only room for one. I mean, it's a mess, right? It's a chaotic mess. Where are the worst ones, out of curiosity? Anyone have a really bad, rutty street? I'm just curious. Once you get used to it? Get used to it. I know. Get over it, Crouch. Jeez. I bring this example up because it's a similar image to one used in a Berenstain Bears story that I really like, that we read a lot in our house, called The Bad Habit. Has anyone read that? Berenstain Bears and the Bad Habit? Okay. And in it, Mama Bear talks to Sister Bear about how tough it can be to break bad habits. And the analogy she uses is every day she pushes her wheelbarrow out to and back from the garden. And over time, it's created a rut in the path. So much so that you can't really go any other way. You're sort of just stuck in this rut. And if you want to get out of it, you have to push really, really hard to get out of it. It's hard. You don't really have too much control over it. And you just go that way. And these ruts, they're like our habits. Good habits or bad habits, but we don't really even think about them. We just do them, right? We just do them. They get us from one place to another, from A to B in our life. Does anyone have any habits they want to share? Does anyone have a bad habit? Yeah? Do you want to share? Yes. What's that called? Revenge, yeah, that's right. The same way. It's like, I know better than this, but it's just like, I don't. Yeah. Any others? Yeah. It's just, yeah. I get that. I bite my nails. I do. And Jackie, who just arrived, will tell you that it's kind of gross because she'll find little nail bits around the house. I'm disgusting, I know. I mean, is it a good habit? No, it's not a good habit. Not really. But it helps me. I don't know if it's calming me down or if it just helps me deal with stress. I don't know. I don't know what it is. But it's a habit that I have. It can be personality too, how we interact with the world, right? Those are often habits. Simply put, they've worked for us before, and so we keep going back over the same path, and suddenly that's our personality. I often go to the Enneagram when I think of things like this, and so I kind of just pull one out. So the one that jumped for me today is like the idea of being a perfectionist is an example. It can be good or bad. It's not right. It's not wrong. It can be really handy in some situations, and it can be super unhelpful and unproductive in others. But it's personality. It's a practice, a way of getting through the world that some people latch onto, probably because it helped them get through the world. It worked for them at some point in their life, and for whatever reason, their brain latches onto it, and it becomes a habit. Right? I'm the opposite. I'm not really a perfectionist at all, as you just found out more and more. I mean, I have a few things. Chairs in the sanctuary, if they're not arm, no arms, bugs the hell out of me. It really does. So there's small things that really get me. I'm a perfectionist. But for the most part, I'm not. You've seen my office, or many of you have seen my office. If some of it, yeah. You've seen what you can. Is that the office of a perfectionist? No. No, it's not. And that's not good. It's not bad. It's just what is. It's neither good. Sometimes it's good to be able to say, just relax, don't worry about it. Other times, I could use some more, hey, Tim, this needs to be done absolutely right. Right? But somewhere in my life, the message stuck to just be okay with things. That helped me get through some sort of trauma, big or little, I don't know, whatever it was for little Tim. And it stuck. And it became my habit, my way of getting through the world. Okay, my approach to the world. So why am I talking about habits, specifically with this reading? We have a collective habit as human beings, and it's a bad habit. And it's incredibly destructive. And it's hard to put into words, but I'll just call it the habit of violence. Right? It's a bunch of things all put together. The idea that might makes right. Right? The idea of look out for your own. If someone pushes you, what do? You push back, and maybe you push back harder. Right? Usually it comes out as me and people who are like me or on my side are right, and others are wrong. Right? Sometimes that leads to marginalization of communities. There's long histories of that. Other times it leads to justice through vengeance, right? How do we get justice? Well, through retribution. That solves the problem. Then they feel bad about what they did to me. I don't know how to describe it any other way than that, but it's a habit that's embedded in our culture. And it's served us. I mean, it's brought us to this place. We're still here for now. But it's become that rut that humanity keeps going through. Right? We keep going along. It's like a drug addiction. Right? Is an addiction a good thing to have? No, but addictions happen often as a way of coping with the world. At some level, I don't think I'd be surprised to hear someone say internally, it's got me here. I'm still alive until I'm not. It's protected me from something else that our brain rationalizes as much worse, right? That's what addiction, I think, is. That's my understanding. I'll stand to be corrected, but that's a really rough sense of it. And so we fall into those habits again and again and again, and it becomes what we fall in and what we do. Violence has served us. Justice by retribution has served us. When someone pushes you, you push them right back. If someone hurts you, you punch them in the face. And it's become a habit. It's become a cultural habit. And it looks a lot of different ways. It looks like, from our own scriptures, it looks like that language of an eye for an eye. Right? Or it looks more recently like, hypothetically, someone saying Christianity is about loving your family first, and then your neighbors, and then your community, and then if you have anything left, the rest of the world. Right? But essentially, look out for you and for yours. So this is the habit that the whole world is in, and we are too. I am. I'm in this habit. I get mad. These days, I want a lot of righteous vengeance. I want wrath. I want people to pay. I want people to hurt, and I want them to know why they should hurt. And I don't think I'm alone in that. And into this world comes a guy, and he says, love your enemies. I mean, anyone can love your friends, he says. Anyone can help out the people they care about, but I'm telling you to love your enemies. And I want you to do that. And if you want to follow me, that's what it looks like. That's what it means. I mean, doesn't this quote that we read today make the vice president's recent words about the order Christianity calls you to love? I don't know if people heard that when he said, yeah, Christianity says love your family first, love your neighborhood second, love your community third, something along and love the rest of the world at the end. I mean, pick up the book. Right? Doesn't that make it more infuriating, especially when it's claimed that this is what Christianity is? I get the impulse to say love your family first and then your friends and then your neighbors, etc., etc. I get the urge. I'm not going to say that's a bad thing to do because I undoubtedly do it. But don't tell me that is Christian. I was even reading up, trying to make sense of how the vice president could make such a claim that this is Christianity. And the line people were throwing out in defense was, well, it says love your neighbor as yourself. Yeah, except when someone says, who's your neighbor? The answer Jesus gives is, that foreign guy you hate. Right? He tells the story of the Good Samaritan. If you don't want to be a Christian, don't. That's okay. But don't look at what Christianity is and say, that's too hard. Let's just say it's the opposite. And don't come to me and say, you aren't good at it either, because guess what? I know that. I know I'm not good at loving my enemy. None of us are good at it, because you know what? It's really fucking hard. Loving your enemies is hard. So the question is perhaps not, do you love your enemies? The more useful question is perhaps, when you fail to love your enemies, do you give up or do you try again and again? And we need to. Today, we need to. The world desperately, desperately needs an alternative. It always has, but it seems that in many of our contexts, we're starting to recognize it more and more. And it's hard to live that alternative because when we begin to feel those threats, as we begin to feel anxiety and as we begin to feel fear, the urge to respond with something other than love gets more and more palpable. It gets harder and harder to respond. When everything's great, it's super easy to say, those folks, they should just respond to their enemies with love. And then sort of pat ourselves on the back with self-righteousness as we go to sleep in warm homes wrapped in blankets of innumerable other security guarantees. But as those guarantees start to fade, suddenly responding with love becomes a hell of a lot harder. But Jesus knew. Jesus knew that responding to violence with violence doesn't end anything. That's the whole message of the gospel. I'm going to quote Buddha here because it's put quite simply. Hatred cannot come to an end by hatred. Only love can overcome hatred. That's the gospel for you. That's the story of the cross. That's the story of the resurrection. Now, as an aside, this is not an excuse for domestic violence as it has been so often wielded in the past. Jesus is not saying to people, suck it up, take whatever anyone gives you. Love is not passive and docile. There are many other sermons around what love is and what love looks like. In the cases of domestic violence, love can look like getting out of that situation. I need to put that in there because this has been so misused in its time. But love can be ferocious. Love can be powerful. In fact, as I say this, all those other things, anger, rage, violence, lust for power, they come out of weakness. They come out of fear and cowardice. Love is the only response that is strong. Right? Dr. King spoke about meeting physical force with soul force. I like that. There's a story of an army captain and a monk, and the army captain comes into this village, and there's a monk just kind of sitting there. And the captain says to him, "Aren't you scared? I could kill you, and I wouldn't even blink an eye." And the monk looks at him and smiles and says, "Aren't you scared? You could kill me, and I wouldn't blink an eye." This is the gospel of Christ on the cross, who didn't spew vitriol and hatred, but spoke of mercy and compassion while he was dying. This is what we need in the world, and this is a time in our history when we find out what we truly believe. As I said, it's easy to proclaim love from safety. It's much, much harder to do so from a cross. But it's the only way forward. So how do we do it? Well, it takes a lot of practice. Maybe it starts with just recognizing the brokenness in others, starting from a place of pity. I like what Gandalf says in Lord of the Rings, referencing Bilbo's pity. As the pity of Bilbo may rule the fate of many, and in the end, it's pity which saves the world. Buddha says, all fear violence, all are afraid of death. See the similarity in yourself. Maybe that's where we start. Just recognizing that we share a humanity with all of its fears and all of its pains, that we share a humanity with all of its griefs and losses and wounds and worries as those who we would so readily hate. And not condoning them, not stopping resisting them, but always, always pitying them. Maybe that's a start. And it's hard. It's hard to imagine it even works. But that doesn't mean it isn't who we are called to be, who we are called to keep coming back to again and again. That doesn't mean we aren't called to try. Right? That's the call to discipleship that faces all of us who proclaim Christ. Take up your cross and follow me. Thanks be to God. Amen.